Okay, so this is basically a video diary of the year in hell. I call it the year in hell because it was one of the hardest years that I've ever gone through. I say one because there's been a few, but this one in particular was pretty rough. And I still feel like it's affecting me, the way I talk and the things I talk about, how I handle things. My reactions to things just aren't quite normal, I guess you would say. So I figured this would be a good way to heal, maybe, and also maybe it hopefully can help someone else. So if they spot the warning signs and stuff like that, or maybe someone identifies with what I went through, then maybe it can help them too. So, the year in hell. Let's start with the beginning, because that seems like the best place to start. Sorry if I was covering the mic with my hand. So, I met my then boyfriend in a club, and I thought it would be a great idea to say hello, because we actually went to the same high school. He was a year older than me, and I thought, oh, he's pretty cool in high school. I always thought he was like cool, so I walked up and said hello. And I guess I should have learned from my mom telling me she went up to some guy and said hello. So, of course, history repeats itself, right? So, I walked up and said hello, and we talked a little bit, and he walked away and started making out with a girl. And I was like, okay. And that should have been my first, don't go there, Gina. But I didn't. I had already had him on Facebook, and I just messaged him like, hey, or something. And he messaged me within like 5 minutes, and then the next day, and we just kept talking, and eventually he would come over and hang out with me, and we just talk, and it was kind of nice. We'd watch movies together, and the house I was living in at the time, I lived in this apartment for okay, so backstory, my mom's kind of a hoarder and stuff, so, and she's real crazy. I can tell you stories. So, I was living in an apartment, and the apartment was really expensive because I was living on month-to-month rent, wanting to move out. And so some of my friends offered for me to live in their house, and that was cool for a while, but then it just you know how some people's habits just can get to you. So I was ready to move out, and he had been living with his grandfather, and he was ready to move out too. So our genius idea is, let's get a place together. Yeah, it'd be so fun. And he kept warning me, I have bipolar, I have issues, I have anger issues, I get jealous. And in my little head, jealous was like, you're mine, grabbing me and hugging me tightly and letting me know that I'm important to them. And bipolar, well, I was like, if I can live with a hoarder, I can live with this. And anger issues, I was like, well, we can just get a punching bag, because I had a solution to everything. I had all the answers, right? So I didn't listen, and I moved in with him, and I thought it would be great. And I was really unrealistic with myself and with my expectations of what would happen. So I, Winnie the Pooh, so grown up, right? I've had this blanket forever. It's like the best blanket. Anyways. So it's like, we move in, we sign the lease, we get everything together, and he has this awful, piece of shit car. It's a Cutlass, but it's so rusted and just, it's rough. And I'm just he took it over for his, cousin, I think, who died, and I was like, oh, so Like, that's a cool story. That's, that's really genuine, sure. But, and he's like, I'm gonna fix it up. But, like, I feel like he'd had it a while and stuff, and he hadn't still. And he was always between jobs, and he just got another one. And I was like, oh, yeah, it would be cool. So we move in, we sign the lease, and it's a 13-month lease instead of 12 because you get the extra month. Us, sure. Me now. What the fuck? So, anyways. So we sign this lease and we move in, and everything's cool for the first, like, month, right? We're good. And then I see him punch his dog and kick its ribs. I don't say anything. Like, it bugs me and it hurts me, and I'm so surprised and terrified that he did this to his dog that I don't say anything. He continues, like, yelling at his dog. His dog pees every time he, like, comes near him, and that should have been a warning sign, but it wasn't. And, of course, it's either me or him cleaning up his dog's pee. But I thought, well, we moved in together. It's fine. I can be patient. It'll probably just pass. It's just a phase. So, his jealousy starts getting worse and worse. It goes from, like, some dude's messaging you gonna block him? To, like, it just escalates. I'll explain that later. So, he becomes more and more mentally unstable. It's like he keeps getting jobs and then screwing them up. I helped him with his resume. I helped him with his cover letter. I literally made it for him. I would get him phone numbers to different jobs that he may or may not have called. Every time he got a job, he would go for a few weeks, maybe a few months even at max, and then he would get a flat tire, or his car wouldn't start, or something would happen. And yeah, he would call them, and they would get pissed because it's usually with a temp agency, and he doesn't seem reliable. And he's had a lot of jobs in the past. Another red flag, right? So I was trying to be patient and loving, and you know what I mean? And so his car's being awful. Someone broke out the back window, and someone broke in his car twice. Isn't it strange that someone broke in his car twice, not my... It's fine. There's red flags all over the place in this lovely little tale we're following. So, he doesn't even take his dog for a walk. It's like 2 to 5 minutes max outside, and then right back inside. He's like, well, he has trouble walking. My friends, like, dropped him or something, hurt his shoulder when he was a puppy. So now he can't walk, and his dog's fat, and he calls him fat all the time. Calls him fat ass, calls him dumb. And, like, every once in a while would punch the dog in the face, the nose. He just hit him. And I was just like, it's his dog. He can do what he wants, but it would hurt me every time to see it. And now every time I see it, it hurt. Like, I almost get sick. I want to walk away. And, so that broke me down mentally. He kept having trouble paying the rent and the bills, and they were all in my name because, again, I can handle it. It's fine. So I would be working 2 to 3 jobs, so like 60 hours a week, maybe 80, depending. And I would go home on my lunch breaks to see him, and he would still complain, or he'd still be in a bad mood, or he'd be playing video games, or he'd be like, oh, so you're just here for a minute? Why did you even... Just rude stuff that, like, I'd have to go change, or I'd want to eat, and there wouldn't be any food because he didn't buy any, or he ate it, or whatever. I don't know. Dishes wouldn't be done. I'd ask to have, can you do the laundry at least? The wet clothes would stay in the washer for forever. Or I would leave them and he wouldn't put them in the dryer. And even though I'd asked multiple times, then they'd be moldy. And then we're out of detergent. Oh my gosh, I have to buy it. I'm going to throw a fit about it. Like, just, he would complain and throw a fit about everything. I'd go to hang out with my friends because he was at work. I recorded it one night. I came home at 7. And it wasn't even home. I'll get to that in a minute. So I came home. came back to the apartment at 7, and he wasn't off till 11. So I went to hang out with my friends for 4 or 5 hours, just talking. And every time I'd have a new story about him, full of pain and stuff. And I don't know, it just got worse and worse. One of the breaking points was when he tried to commit suicide, but he didn't really. He grabbed a gun. Well, first he grabbed a steak knife because I said I had to go to work, and he left. Went into the bathroom, and I had to chase him in there and push the door open, and he was just holding it and crying, and I'm trying to like do a no holds bar thing so I can just get it all out, and he was crying, and I kept thinking, like, you really weren't gonna do it. You just did that to freak me out so I wouldn't go to work, and I'd be late to work, and I had to call off of work and chase him around and cry. And he threatened to shoot himself with a BB gun or something. I didn't pay enough attention when he brought guns in the house, but I'm pretty sure they were all BB guns or paintball guns or something. But I had grabbed all of them and all the knives, and I went to walk out, and he wouldn't let me out. And he just kept making me sad. He just kept making me feel bad for wanting to leave, making me feel bad for seeing my friends, implying that I would be doing lesbian things when I am straight to one of my friends because we would hang out. And she's a lesbian, but like his insecurities stemmed that far. We went to see my son. I have a son in open adoption. And when we went to see him, there was one big bed. They had a guest room. So me and Joy, knowing each other our whole lives, literally since we were kids, like our parents knew each other before we were born. We slept in the same bed. It didn't bug me at all. I didn't think anything of it. I mentioned it to him, like, wasn't it nice? Like, we got a whole bed to ourselves. Like, we didn't have to sleep on the floor. And he goes, oh, did you do anything? Did she try anything with you? You wanted to, didn't you? Like, every time I'd wear a short skirt, it'd be like, your ass is hanging out. Every time I wore a long dress, it'd be like, oh, you just want to wear that just so you can show off your butt or your curves or your thighs or someone can stare at you. I talked about the jealousy, right? So it went from like, I just want to know you're mine, to later, while we were living together, 5 minutes in Walmart is the story. I had a cold. I was constantly sick. I was constantly tired with this person. I don't even call him a man. I don't think that's fair. So I was sick. I had an upper respiratory infection. I was blowing my nose. We pull up just to get a money order from the Walmart bank because that's literally the only bank. Again, I found him this bank. I made his resume, his cover letter. I found him jobs. I also found him a car, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Actually, I'll tell you about that now. His car broke. I told him the only way you can get a good one is if you find someone who's a bit older, collects cars, and fixes them up just for extra money. He said that person doesn't exist. That's too hard to find. Found one car on Craigslist, Nissan Altima, something like that, for $600, like a 2000 model. And it had like a lot of miles on it, but it still worked. All it needed was a catalytic converter and like maybe a brake pad or something not as big, not important. I think it was a catalytic converter. And it wasn't like, oh great, like it was, I shouldn't have done anything for him, but here we are. So 5 minutes in Walmart. So we pull up to Walmart. I'm blowing my nose. He gets out of the car real fast. I hate that. Like, I'm not ready. I need to blow my nose. It's full. I can't breathe. So I finally get out. I'm blowing my nose still because he's like rushing. So I'm walking and blowing my nose. So I'm walking slow. A group of guys pulls up and they start walking too. And so then I hurry up and run. And I think I was in a dress. I hurry up and I run to catch up with him. And he's like, what are you doing? Like whispering under his breath, asking me what I'm doing, why it took so long, and just kind of angry. So I'm like trying to ignore it, laugh it off, because that's what I always do. We walk in and we get in line. I make a joke like, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? He's like, just leave it. I'm like, what's wrong? Like, just kind of goofing around. And he's like, what, just... And I look behind me, and some guy's like, looking over, kind of looks at me, and I smile. He's like, what, just screw it. And we walk out. and he walks out really fast.